G'day Gear Junkies, Jason here. In the last few months, I've done a fair few videos on Boss pedals, and I've got a few more to come as well. But at risk of becoming the Boss appreciation channel, I decided what I wanted to do was to highlight another brand that I have a lot of love for. So I've chosen Jim Dunlop / MXR. So if you didn't know, Jim Dunlop is the parent company of many other brands like MXR and Way Huge. And I like a lot of their pedals. I can't say that I've tried them all, but here's a list of 9 Jim Dunlop and MXR pedals that I absolutely love. Number 1, we have the Dunlop Crybaby wah. You knew this was coming, I know, but this is such a staple for guitar players. You need to own one of these at some stage in your guitar playing life. They're absolutely fantastic. You can do a lot of things with them, and they really do come in handy. They sound great with rhythmic playing. They make lead lines stand out. They're just really cool. And you may not plug one in for 6 months, but when you do, you'll remember why you love it so much. Now, Dunlop make a number of signature wahs and different variants of the Crybaby, but what you need to know is that just a standard Crybaby like this will do the job for most people. They're a fantastic pedal and you should try one at some stage. Number 2, I've got the MXR Dyna Comp. Now this has been around since the 70s. Now MXR went bust in the 80s and Dunlop bought the MXR name and started reproducing pedals in the 90s. One of the first ones they resurrected was this classic. Now you'll hear people talk about classic compressors like the Ross compressor or the Diamond compressor or even any of the stuff that Robert Keeley's done. These are all based on this, the Dyna Comp. And it's really hard to beat a classic. This is such a great compressor. A lot of modern compressors have a lot of flexibility and they can be quite subtle. This isn't either of those things. It's quite harsh. You have to have the level up pretty high most of the time, and it's a fairly harsh compressor, but I like harsh compression, and I especially like it with my Telecaster going into a Vox AC30. In the last 15 years or so, MXR has really been at the forefront of making analog delay cool again with their pedal, the MXR Carbon Copy. Now, there's been a few different variants of this pedal. There's the regular Carbon Copy, there's this one here, the Carbon Copy Bright. I think there's a deluxe model as well. Doesn't matter which one you get, they're all absolutely fantastic. You get those really warm, dark repeats from this classic analog delay. The original Carbon Copy was criticised by some for being a little too dark, so to cater for those people, MXR brought out the Carbon Copy Bright. Now, I did a shootout between the two a few months back, and they are a little bit different, but they're both really cool. Number 4 is not the MXR Phase 90, it's the MXR EVH Phase 90. Now the first What's the Difference video I ever did was between this script logo Phase 90 and a block logo Phase 90. Now I didn't expect there to be much difference, if any. I thought it was a marketing ploy. I was wrong. They are quite different. So the script logo I noticed was a lot more subtle, whereas the block logo was a bit more pronounced, particularly in the mid-range. The great thing about the EVH version, it's both of those in one. And a lot of people mentioned that in the comments. So when you press this button here, it goes into script mode. So you're basically replicating this pedal here. And then when you turn that off, you're in block territory. So in this box, we have both classic versions of the MXR Phase 90, plus it just looks so cool. Number 5, we've got the Dunlop Rotovibe. This pedal's been around for some time. They don't make them in particularly large numbers, so they can be a little bit hard to get hold of, but it is, for mine, the best Univibe type pedal that Dunlop make. The original Univibe that Hendrix used was made by a company called Shenai in Japan. And when they went broke, Dunlop bought the naming rights to Univibe. That's why no other company makes a pedal called a Univibe. They might just call it a Vibe, but the name Univibe is owned and is a trademark that is owned by Jim Dunlop. This is essentially a Univibe circuit, but it's got the treadle. So even though MXR have a pedal called Univibe, I actually prefer this because I just find it makes this expressive effect even more expressive. Being able to swell in more of the vibrato and the speed, it just brings it to life a bit more. For mine, if you're looking for a really cool Univibe, it's very hard to go past the Rotovibe. Back in the 90s, Dunlop had out this big purple tremolo panner pedal, which was really cool, and they go for a fair bit of money on the used market. They then re-released it as the MXR Tremolo pedal, and then in more recent years, they released a smaller version, which is this. So the new MXR Tremolo pedal, which is actually a digital pedal, which is kind of funny because their tagline is analog innovations, is the best tremolo I've ever tried. It's got 6 different types of tremolo, including harmonic tremolo, which sounds a bit like a vibe. I have a control jack here where I can plug in an expression pedal to change my speed, or I can tap tempo switch if I like. It's stereo in and out, which is great. There's nothing quite like playing in front of two amplifiers that have a tremolo panner going on, so the sound is bouncing from one amp to the other. It is so cool. I prefer this even over my amp tremolos in my AC30 and Fender Deluxe Reverb. Number 7, I've got the Dunlop Fuzz Face. Now, originally the Fuzz Face was made by a company called Arbiter in England. When they went broke, Dunlop bought the name Fuzz Face. So these are not the exact same ones that were produced back in the 60s, but they're still really cool. And like the Crybaby, there's a lot of different variants. It doesn't matter which one you get, they're all really cool. Personally, I prefer the germanium ones, which are usually in the red enclosures. They sound great. They have a little bit more mid-range, probably a little bit less gain, but I kind of like that sort of warm mid-rangey sound, particularly when I'm playing single coil pickups. Next up, I've got a really underrated pedal, which is the MXR GT-OD. Now, as you can probably guess, this is their version of a tube screamer. I personally love tube screamers, and this is just a really good quality one that for some reason just does not hold its value on the secondhand market. So you can pick these up all day here in Australia for about $60, maybe $70, which is only about $40 American. So they're super cheap for a really good quality tube screamer style pedal that doesn't sound any different to a TS9 really. So definitely give these a look at. These are fantastic. Lastly, I have possibly my favorite pedal out of all of these, which is the MXR Reverb. Now, I owned one of these when they first came out around sort of 2015-16, and I sold it when I bought a Strymon Big Sky, and I always regretted it. So I've recently bought one back. This is just such a great reverb. They've done all the right things. So for example, it allows your dry signal to pass in analog fashion, and it just adds the reverb on digitally to your analog dry signal. So this has got 6 different reverb modes. For me, the make or break setting for any reverb pedal is how good the spring reverb is. Spring reverb is something that's very hard to get right digitally because it's got to sound drippy and, you know, wet. And a lot of digital pedals never sort of quite pull that off. This is the best spring reverb I've ever heard in a digital pedal before. No, for me, this is actually better than my Fender Deluxe Reverb. Believe it or not. I absolutely love the spring reverb on this, but all of the other settings are totally usable. And like I said before, I really regretted selling this, and I'm so glad I've got one back. Possibly the coolest thing about this pedal is how the expression pedal works with it. So you plug an expression pedal in, you put it all the way back to the heel, you set your reverb up how you like it, and then you push it all the way to the toe, and then you change not just one, but any of the dials, all of the dials if you like. Completely different sort of reverb sound. And then your expression pedal in between is anywhere in between those 2 settings that you just did. So you got like the full wet sound or sort of shorter sound, and then everything in between. It's just such a cool reverb. So those were my favorites, but I'd really like to know what your favorites are in the comments below and how you like to use them. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. You can support this channel by going to the Middle Age Gear Junkie store and buying some merchandise. I'll left a link in the description. You can also join the Middle Age Gear Junkie Facebook community, and I've left a link in the description to that as well. Other than that, my name's Jason. See you later.